Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the Open Concept Podcast, where we are breaking down unnecessary walls and barriers that stand in the way of greatness. My man, Sam Crane here, our guest today, CEO of Desert Rivers Credit Union. That's a
Correct.
mouthful. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes.
CEO of Desert Rivers Credit Union plays an exponential role in growing the revenue and the teams behind the bank, the credit union itself. Really interesting story. Currently on a health journey himself. Talk about breaking down barriers. Been loving the journey I've been watching of you on Instagram, battling the good fight against Mountain Dew. Uh, why don't you introduce yourself? Because I couldn't possibly do that justice. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Brandon, for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. Yeah, born and raised in Utah, as I mentioned earlier. Love the area out here. Love the people out here. Grew up kind of as an entrepreneur spirit. So, like, my first job ever was selling night crawlers to fishermen. Because our house was kind of along the road that went to the fishing holes, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
put
yeah.
up a sign, and it's like picking up dimes out of my backyard. So that was where my entrepreneurial spirit started, and I've always been excited about business and how it worked, and kind of the idea that if you work hard and you have an idea, you can get it going and make money and make people happy. It's all win-win. So
And night crawlers, they're like little
fishing
worms,
worms.
fish bait.
Yeah,
You're
fish bait. Yeah.
digging out of the backyard and running them down to the dock, and you're selling worms.
Yeah. Every night I would go out after our lawn had been watered. We had a big old lawn in our backyard, and I would put a little headlight on and go out and collect worms. That's when they come out at night.
Yeah.
And they're only like halfway out, so you got to grab them really quick, but pull them slowly. There's a whole thing to it.
Yeah. Well, I hear that,
So
like, you hear the stories of guys selling lemonade. I did that, right? You
yeah,
do the lemonade stands and the newspaper routes, night crawlers. So
it's a new
that's
one.
the first time I've heard selling worms.
It got me through. Bought my summer clothes every year, my back to school clothes, so that was a good thing.
All right. So you graduated on from selling night crawlers
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fishermen.
So right. So eventually went to college. I worked a few different entrepreneurial jobs between there, but um, I was going to go into the nursing field because my friend was a nurse anesthetist, and she was like, "You should do this. It's so cool." And I spent like maybe a couple of semesters doing that, and I realized, man, this field is not for me because I don't like the sight of blood. I don't love cleaning up after people. And I was like, I got to change. So I started thinking about what I wanted to do, and I'm like, I love business. I love entrepreneurship. Why am I not, doing that? So shifted to that. Got a business management degree in business management, and with an emphasis in entrepreneurship, and kind of took off from there. Um, I really started in the financial services as a financial advisor for New York Life, fresh out of college, and that was a tough job. Really, just grinding at sales and trying to get people to invest in their future, retirement.
Yeah.
And
So these are
after,
like retirement savings
yeah,
plans. Yeah, just
life insurance,
bonds, whatever, life
retirement.
insurance, all that sort of stuff.
Yep. I'd meet with clients, and come back and I'd be like, okay, for you to meet your retirement goal, you need to spend, $300 a month on investing in some retirement plans. And they would say, well, I don't really want to do that, but I do need a new car, and I could spend my $300 a month on a new car. If you could get me a loan, I'd really appreciate that. And I realized I was in the wrong business.
Yeah, yeah.
Like asking people to save money for themselves is difficult, but I needed to get into lending. And so then I shifted to lending and started working for a big bank in their lending department as a loan officer, and found out that I really enjoyed helping people consolidate debt. But I was in a part of this was pre 2008. I was in a part of the lending that was kind of hard. It was the subprime debt, and a lot of times you were giving loans at 20, 30% loans, and I was like, man, I don't love that. And so I was able to eventually move to the softer side. I became a manager and kind of learned how to run a lending department. But I realized credit unions were able to really take care of their customers, their members, better than we as big banks could. And I'm like, they're also offering rates that are, actually you could swallow a little bit and not, not hurt your customer. And so I eventually found a credit union. I became their vice president of lending. And after a few years of that, there was an opening for the CEO position of a credit union at Desert Rivers Credit Union. Prior to that, it was called Grand County Credit Union. But I became the CEO of that, and that was 13 years ago. So kind of rolled into credit union world, and have grown that particular credit union from like 12 million in deposits. We've grown to close to 110 million in deposits now.
Wow. So is that just building trust with people that want to do business with the credit union? Is that why deposits have gone up so much, or what does that look like? Because that's a big jump.
Yeah, really, like the growth on credit unions, you can't really grow deposits unless you grow loans, because you can't pay your deposits well unless your loans are growing and working out well for you. So when I came on board, we had like 12 million in deposits, but we only had like 3 million in loans. So our deposit rates were really dismal. And so our first goal was, we got to get these loans up and moving forward and getting money lent out so we can then increase deposit rates. And so that was the first movement. And we grew, 10 million in loans that first year.
Let me back this up a sec, just back to when you were selling insurance and
Okay.
retirement savings plans. Because I have a question. Why, you said people are more interested in the cars that they need versus saving for their future, and I get that, right? As when I'm growing up and in my 20s, and people are telling me, hey, start putting away for RSPs and put it into your future. Why are people worried about that? Is it just, hey, we don't have enough money at this point to put savings in? Is the future just too far ahead? Do they think that at some point they're just going to have some windfall of cash and they're not going to need those services? But I do understand, like, there is this stigma about saving for the future that a lot of people can't really wrap their heads around, because like you said, the car makes so much more sense to them at that time, because it's going to get them around and move them around. But why do you think that is?
I think that it just goes back to human nature, that we want what we want right now, and we have a hard time saving and deciding what we want for our future self. So like in my health journey, it's so easy to be like, well, I want that birthday cake today because I want it, like I see it, it looks good, but knowing that will hamper my long-term goals to stay fit and healthy, and deciding not to do that is a tougher choice, but a better choice long-term. And I think it goes back to the same issues with saving money for the future. Is I think there are a lot of people that do understand they need to save money for the future, and they do a good job. It's not everybody, but I think at least the people that I was dealing with, that, back then I was fresh out of college. And so a lot of my warm leads, a lot of leads I was getting, they were people in their 20s and their 30s, and it just was difficult for them to see past their immediate need. If I need a car now because we just had a baby and I've got a new, I've got to get that now.
Yeah, I was lucky when I was younger. I came across Rich Dad Poor Dad
Oh,
as
nice.
as a book that I had read just pretty well right out of high school, and I had just gotten my first big boy job, and I managed to put away 10% of every paycheck because they had an option there, and it was just an
Amazing.
automatic deposit of, it didn't matter how much my paycheck was, it was just 10% would go away into an account.
Hmm.
And the company that I was working for at the time would match up to 3.5%. And so 13.5% of everything that I was making was going into a different fund. And
Nice.
so at 22, I had saved up, it was about $30,000, and I put that down as a deposit on my first home over the
Wow.
course of whatever that was, 4 or 5 years, just simply by getting paid and having these automatic deposits. So I have a
Amazing.
I have a
You're the
young
exception.
daughter.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank you. It is a tough thing though. Like if you are forced every month to go in and make those transactions
Hmm.
separately, independently on your own, it's much more difficult to do that, which is why having a framework in place of just this, like, it's just automatically going to
Automatic.
happen no matter what, is much easier. And like they said in that book, you don't really miss it. You learn to adapt without that
Right.
10% helping out your day to day.
Yep. And you pay yourself first, right?
Pay
You're,
yourself first.
yep.
Let me ask you, for those that don't know, difference between a credit union and a bank.
Oh,
And
sure.
and down in the States, you guys have a lot more banks than we do. Here in Canada, I think we have seven, major banks, and we have a different credit unions in different places, but there's not a
Right.
lot of banking options here in Canada. But down in the States, you have way more options as to who you're going to bank with.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I have a really unique view on what the difference between a bank and a credit union is, as I worked for a large bank, probably one of the largest banks in the U.S. right now, and I worked for them for 7 years. And then, I've been in the credit union world for 15 years. And really, it comes down to a couple of things, but the one main thing is ownership. Who owns a bank versus who owns a credit union? And with banks, you have stockholders. The bank is owned by the people who have invested their money in a stock. And of course, those stockholders have goals that they set for the CEO. And usually those goals are based off of profit margins and, price to earning ratio. And they want to see earnings happen at a bank. Um, what is different about a credit union is the owners are the members of the credit union. So everybody that has a savings account at my credit union has one share ownership in the credit union. And a lot of people don't fully grasp that. Like if you have an account at a credit union, it means you have an ownership. It means you have a say, and your biggest say is to vote at the annual meeting when the board of directors are elected. And so you hold an annual meeting every year. Your board of directors run, and they're elected by the shareholders that are your customers. And what's kind of cool about a credit union is you can't own more than one share. So everybody gets one vote. Just because you have $1 million in the credit union doesn't mean you get more votes than the guy that's got, 5,000 or whatever it is. And so it does kind of spread that ownership out pretty evenly amongst the members. And then, of course, those board members that are voted on at that annual meeting, they set goals for me as the CEO of, hey, this is what we would like to see based off of what our constituents are asking us to do. Whether that's better digital services or more reach in our branching, or we want better loan products, or whatever it is that they're setting for goals for me. So every year we set the 10 major goals for the credit union we want to accomplish that year. And there's more goals than that, but we're going to focus on these 10 and make them a priority. And then I work with my management team to try to hit those. And so what I noticed being in banks is a lot of the decisions that were made. I was a branch manager. I was a district manager of banks. A lot of those decisions and those objectives being pushed down were focused on creating revenue, creating more money for the bank. And that was a hard thing because you couldn't always spin that to your customers of like, hey, this is why we're charging you an extra $5 to deposit your money or whatever it is. You had to, I mean, you did your best to try to help them see the value. But after a while, I was like, man, I wonder if there's a better way. And then I started looking at credit unions and realizing like they're actually trying to find the value that works best for the members, for the customers that are using the credit union. And so that's what excited me so much about joining this movement.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that credit unions, you are a shareholder if you
Yes.
are joining a credit union.
Yeah. If you have money deposited at a credit union, you own that credit union.
Where do you go from joining the credit union to CEO of a credit union?
You mean how did I get from
How did you get let's from night crawlers to CEO? Is there the initiation process? Are you voted in as CEO by the members of the credit union, or is this a
no
position that
the
you're directed to?
yeah, so it's a board decision, right? So the board members were voted on by the credit union members, and then the board has to find the CEO. And of course, if they don't like what I'm doing, they can always terminate my contract and find another CEO. And that's really the power of the board, and it's really connected to the people. And so by them by them choosing me and saying these are your directives, this is what we want to hit, it gives that power kind of back to the people. But how I was chosen was, there was a long process. I mean, I was working as the vice president of lending at another credit union nearby, Desert Rivers Credit Union at the time, and we were quite a bit bigger. The financial institution I worked for was about 10 times bigger than Desert Rivers at the time,
Hmm.
and but I had a couple of people I knew on the Desert Rivers board, and so I started talking with them and saying, what are your goals? What are you guys trying to achieve? And actually, for me, it was a leap of faith. I actually had to take a pay cut to become the CEO of that credit union. I was making more money as the vice president of lending at a different institution. But if you remember, back at the time, we really didn't have that much in loans or deposits, so the
Mhm.
budgets were tight, and I could see that, you know, I knew the area, I knew banking, I'd worked in Southeast Utah for all that time. I knew I could kind of head us in the right direction. We'd been plateaued at that place for quite a while, but I knew I could do it. And luckily, the board took a chance on me, and it's worked out. When I started, we were at 5 employees. Like I said, 12 million deposits. We're 112 million now, 110 million, and 33 employees. Four
Awesome.
branches now. So we went from one branch to four.
Speaking of people and employees, and I mean that's incredible. Like that's really amazing growth to see year over year, and didn't come, I'm sure, without a series of challenges
Oh yeah.
and buy-in from staff. And as you grow, you're changing systems and you're spreading out, looking at different branches and different locations and different leadership teams to hit initiatives. What does that what does that take to lead a team to say, hey, these are our goals. We need to lend as much as we can to people that need this money. Let's get our names out there. Let's make sure that people, if they need a loan, they are coming to us. I imagine there's a lot of marketing involved. There's a lot of strategic planning with the leadership team and some pretty clear initiatives and targets, but how do you say, hey, we're 5 million right now. We have a target of 100 million, and
Right.
how we're going to get there. What does that process look like as a CEO, knowing that you need tremendously talented and incredible people that are driven to make that happen? Um, where do you find them, and how do you incentivize them? How do you lead them to make sure that they are aligned with the goal and they are absolutely going to be able to knock that out of the park?
Yeah, well, it starts at the top, right? Like a lot of people, the way that they want to hit goals is they just want to do like, well, what do I need to do a little bit better this year? But the way I kind of looked at it was like, what do we want to be when we grow up?
Mm,
What do we want to look like? You know, we've got some growing to do. What does it look like 5, 10 years from now? You know, and so that's a really fun place to talk about because it doesn't require you to do anything yet. It just requires you to dream and dream big. And what's interesting about that, when we did that the first time, we ended up kind of boiling those down to some 5 year goals. And and they were like, okay, those are a little lofty, but let's set them out there. And then it was like, okay, what can we do, knowing that our 5 year goal is to, you know, have another branch and to grow by 20 million, and kind of what can we do this year to 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 eat away at that. But also you have to start asking yourself, as a leadership team and as a team, what do we need to become ourselves in order to invite that future vision? Because it's not just about growing one year incrementally. It's about us all transforming ourselves into the type of people that we can step into that future vision of ourselves. And so that's what our progress was, or our process was for strategic plan. We'd meet each year, talk about our vision for the future, boil it down to some ideas. And what's cool is, Brandon, I can go back and look at those 5 year plans every year, and almost everything we've ever hoped for has been met. And a lot of times we'd be able to do it in 1 to 2 years, not 5 years. So a
yeah,
lot of people, we think we can do a lot in a day, but we don't realize how much we can do in a year or 2 years or 5 years. Like if you're consistent at something, it really does work over a long period of time.
yeah, or even a decade out, right? And
Yeah,
this goes back to the idea of uh, that that instant gratification of buying the car versus the saving for retirement, right? Because people
right.
tend to think about, all right, well, in the next week here, how much can I get done this week? Or if they're in their first year in business and it becomes a struggle, or they're not getting ahead as fast as they want to their first year in business, it's like, well,
Hmm.
it's just the thinking behind that is too short term. Like you need to expand out and think a decade, right? How much
Right.
can we do in a decade? And then
Exactly.
start boiling that stuff down. I love what you said though about how what are we going to look like when we grow up? This is pretty cool. Like, 'cause you can look around right now, and I'm looking around my office, and I'm like, man, I feel pretty grown up, but there's still a lot of maturing here that we can do. And so looking ahead at, like, all right, well, what are these next steps? What is being a grown up now look like
Right. Right.
as an organization?
Because we all think about that as a kid, right? It's like, what do I want to do when I grow up? We dream about it and we fantasize about it, but like we can do the same thing now as an adult. Like every aspect of our life requires growing up and maturing and transformation, and we can invite that in every aspect of our life. It's a true principle.
Yeah, growing up, right?
A little
There's
different.
a little different, but I think human nature, we do want to people are afraid of change.
Mm,
They're nervous
yeah.
about what they're going to find on the other side of growth, whether that's fear of, maybe it's a story that we tell ourselves about money, or we tell ourselves about being fit, right? And that's
Right.
that's another one where people, they like, well, I could go to the gym, but I'm going to do it 2 days a week, and then I know I'm gonna put in a bit of effort there, and then I'm gonna have a couple bottles of wine. Um, but they wonder why they don't really get ahead, is because there's this benchmark that they've set, and and increasing that benchmark, whether you have you know uh, uh, finance in place, finance, wealth, health, love, fulfillment, uh, status, happiness, whatever that is, whatever those benchmarks are, increasing those benchmarks and staying there, like peaking is easy momentarily, but elevating that baseline, so this becomes that new floor, right? When that
Yes.
old ceiling becomes that new floor, and for you to really really level up is tough,
Yes.
because you have to change, and your
Right.
surroundings have to change, your mindset
Yes.
has to change, the people around you are going to change, and a lot of
Yep.
people don't have that desire, or really have that in them to change, or are get worried about what it's going to be like if they have to end up finding a new friend group. And what I
Yeah.
found is, so many people, when you go through change, you end up, I'll use the friend group as an example, because it's really easy for people to understand. But as you start growing, and tell me how this resonates with you.
Yeah.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I find that as people grow, and I'm speaking from experience, in like that growth period is very, very difficult, because you have certain friend groups or people that you're spending time with. And as you grow, you start to kind of outgrow that friend group, or outgrow the habits
Mm,
that they have or that they align with, whether
right.
it's drinking or eating shitty food, or whatever that is, playing a lot of video games, and all of a sudden you get away from that anymore, but you're not quite at the level of people that you want to hang out with, and that you're sort of aspiring to hang out with, because you kind of haven't made it to that point where you can hang with the
Right.
Div 1 guys or
Yeah.
girls. But you're sort of in this no man's land, and that can be a really lonely place. So growth can be very, very lonely, I find.
Yeah. Totally resonates with me. And I love this topic because I'm on a kick right now about becoming a new person. And I think we all have moments in our life where we're invited to become new people. And I really think the difference between that band where you said where people grow a little bit and drop down, and grow a little bit and drop down, is they have chosen not to become a new person. The difference, I think, when you grow and raise that baseline is when you become a new person. And the biggest thing I see is people won't let the old person die.
They're holding on to parts of themselves, or parts of their identity
Yeah,
that they're connecting with, and
there
because
it's
maybe it was a
yeah,
big part of their lives for so long, and they
yes,
built a lot of their identity around that. As
right,
whether you're the party guy, or the
yeah,
car guy, or the finance girl, or whatever.
hmm,
But change, yeah, and leaving some of that behind is a very difficult thing for a lot of people.
yeah. We all want that, like whatever that goal is that's out there, but we're not sure we want to commit to it forever. And that's really like letting that old person die. Is there's certain parts of us that have to let go. Like I've been on a health journey for like the last 2.5 years, and I walked in my closet the other day and I realized I still have my fat pants.
You got your fat clothes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I holding on to that? And I realized I have a limiting belief around I might need those someday. And that was when I realized I haven't let that part of myself die. And so I took them all down, took them to Goodwill, and that's a part of me that I'm like, I need to recognize that part of me that I thought I was holding on to I could let go.
Yeah, I had sort of the opposite there, where I was looking at growing and putting on size and putting on muscle, and had some of these t-shirts that were getting really tight, but they were kind of like cool vintage t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe one day I'll cut the sleeves off and I'll do that, but maybe I'll be able to fit back into them again. I'm like, what am I doing? This is a t-shirt. You're crying
Right.
out loud. What am
Yeah.
I gonna do? Like, cut it out and put it in a picture frame and hang it in my office? Like, get real. But this, like, that was literally the thought that was running through my head. I was like, it's kind of a cool shirt. I it was from an experience that I had, so it was kind of fun to hold on to that t-shirt. But literally, that's what it is. The
Yeah.
experience that I went through had, I got a t-shirt from this event, and it was a pretty cool event. But I'm holding on to that event, and like my mind, it was sort of nuts when I was able to wrap my head around it. But I was like, oh, it was a cool show. I'm gonna hold on to it because it's sort of a fun T-shirt and it's
Yeah.
memorabilia. But it's a T-shirt. I have
Yeah.
that memory. I can still talk about that. But
Right.
taking that and ripping that in half, getting rid of it for good, it took me years to be able to do that.
Really? Wow. That's a cool story.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I totally understand. More on the health kick. Tell me about carnivore diet. You've been pretty into that recently. We talked a little bit offline about Mountain Dew, and I think I said that in your introduction a little bit. So you're not
Yeah.
gonna be able to hide from that one. How much Mountain Dew were you drinking?
Oh my goodness. So my drink of choice was Diet Mountain Dew, right? So you've got I don't know why I thought it was better for me, but I was 100 plus ounces a day.
It's
It,
a
it
lot
was
of
a
Mountain
lot.
Dew, bro.
It's like a 44 ouncer in the morning, maybe get another one in the afternoon when I come back to work, and then pound a couple more 12 ounces at night. I mean, it was a lot of Diet Mountain Dew. So going off of that was my body was terribly addicted to it, because I not only went off that, but I'm like, I got to get off all artificial sweeteners. So, and all caffeine. So I just went to water.
Mm. So no coffee, no tea,
No,
nothing
no
with
coffee,
caffeine
no
in it.
tea, water and electrolytes, to help me when I'm working out. But
Did you
yeah,
go through some serious withdrawals trying to
oh
kill
man,
that side of your Mountain Dew addiction?
I have never felt withdrawals like that. I've been off other things before, and I think I've been on Diet Mountain Dew for so long that the first 10 days was just horrendous. It was like every part of my body was screaming at me to get back on it. And water tasted so bad during that time. So that's all I had. I'm like, I gotta still hydrate.
It's because water
Uh,
tastes like water.
yeah. Well, what was interesting is after the 10 days, water started tasting good again.
Hmm.
And actually, like, water now tastes great. Like, I'm like, oh, I want that. But the first 10 days, it was weird that it's like water tasted bad. My body was trying to reject the water. 10 days is up, and it just like opened up, right? And I could just feel a change. And so then water started tasting good. I started moving forward. At like day 15, I got super sick. Like
Really?
one of the worst colds I've ever had in my life. And it lasted for like 12
Is that
days.
your body just testing you to
I
be like,
don't
hey,
know.
give me some Mountain Dew, do the
Right?
do.
It was a super hard test because I'm laying at home. I was in bed for like 5 days, and I had nothing to do, and I was like, man, I want some Mountain Dew so bad right now.
This isn't heroin we're talking about. This is Mountain Dew. But like,
Yeah.
I get it because I get these addicted to these artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
Yeah, the aspartame kicks in, and it is very addicting.
Yeah. Yeah. So after really once I was done being sick, the my whole world opened back up again. I mean, I'm talking like way more energy. I sleep immediately. Like, who would have thought that going off caffeine, my energy would would go up by 50%. Like that's crazy to me because I always thought caffeine helped me with my energy levels. But I sleep better. I sleep right away now. So the moment I want to go to sleep, I lay my head on my pillow and I'm out. And then I wake up super refreshed at the right time. It's been life-changing for me. Like I wasn't sure at the end of 30 days. I was kind of doing it as a test to see if I was going to do it long term, but I don't see any reason why I would go back to the way I was before.
Yeah.
I'm at day
Don't
50
do it.
tomorrow.
You're there. You're there. You've made it. You've done
Yes.
that 30 days. I don't drink Mountain Dew anymore.
Right. It's not who I am.
Not who I am. I don't identify with that Mountain Dew drinking sucker. I had similar thing. I mean, I've been drinking coffee for as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
Love coffee. Love the way it makes me feel. Love that first cup in the morning. Love the way it tastes. I love the bitterness. I love when you wake up in the morning and I'm reading a book and then all of a sudden you just feel that that like shock that just sort of kicks in and all of a sudden you're like, all right, here we go. We're ready for the day. I love that. I tried cutting out coffee. I did for about a month, actually almost 2 months, 2020. That was January of 2020. And then we went on holidays to South Africa. My wife
Okay.
is from South Africa originally. So we went there with some family and we landed February 28th of 2020 and we flew back March 14th. So when we left, we had never heard of COVID. It was never on our radar, had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
Halfway through our trip, started getting messages from friends back home saying, hey, when you fly back to BC, you're going to have to quarantine. Like, you should get back home. What the hell are you talking about here? Anyways, I remember we flew back, got back March 14th. And I just sat down and I was getting lit up from text messages while I was away from our staff. Like, should we be going into people's houses? Do we need to go, we need to get masks? Like, what the heck are we doing? It was so new. And I remember sitting at my table and I was jet lagged. I was like first day back really at work, had woken up and like the world had just changed. And I just remember staring at the mirror and I was like, fuck it, give me some coffee. Let's go. I need this in my life right now. I have no idea how things are going to go, how things are going to
Yes.
turn out, but give me that coffee. And I haven't been back since. So I still enjoy coffee, but I started drinking decaf too
Okay.
in the evenings, but still having something there was was something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I had a Diet Coke kick at one point, but it was in my earlier days. That was sort of my drink of choice. But I tried to get off of that as quick as I could.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in Utah, like diet drinks, diet sodas are a really big thing here in Utah.
Mm.
And so it's everywhere, and that's really where I kind of got addicted to it was I didn't have a lot when I was growing up as a kid, but get into high school and it's the thing to do is soda around here. So that's what everybody's kind of addicted to.
Well, it's not just Utah. It's a huge part of the world, but I think especially down in the U.S. I mean, you have so many more people down there than we do in Canada. But man, you talk to, because I'm in the blue collar space, we'll call it, right? I run a construction company here, and I was on a group call with a handful of other contractors that were down in the States, and I was asking one of the guys, he was fairly overweight. And you could tell just really not healthy. And you could also tell by the energy that he was bringing to the table that there was just health had a lot to do with it. I didn't know the guy all that well, but I asked him, I said, what are you doing for health? Like, how's your health? What are you doing for exercise and diet? What's going on? And he sort of was, well, I'm really going for walks sometimes and trying not to eat as much stuff like Jack in the Box. I'm not eating that every day. And, just sort of stuff like that. I'm trying not to drink as much Monster energy drinks and Red Bull, but then he kind of played it off a little bit. But he's like, but I know on job sites that's kind of like in the construction industry, that's what guys are doing, and so
Yeah.
it's like kind of a thing. I was like, what? Why is that a thing? Like, I don't, is that a construction thing? Is that a necessity thing? Is it like guys or just don't care? I don't, but there was a stigma about it that because he was in construction, that was okay for him to just fill his body full of crap and all the stuff that he didn't need. I'm like, man, the industry that you're in, if you're saying that you are as good as you are, then the industry needs you, and the industry needs you to be the best that you can be. And the best
Yes.
that you can be is not that person that's eating out of that brown paper bag
Right.
4 or 5 times a week and
That
sitting
is
there and coming onto this call super
amazing.
low energy. Like, I can
Yeah.
tell that you need to get start making this a priority.
Right. Right. No, I love what you said about showing up. How do we choose to show up? And the truth of it is, all of us, we have people we show up for, whether it's our businesses, whether it's our families, our friends, whoever we're showing up for, and we get to choose. That's what's so empowering, is we get to choose the person we are to show up for them. Every day I can choose to show up at my highest and best self. I can live in that space, or I can choose not to. And we have to take ownership of that. I love the way you put that.
And what you put in your body is so important. And honestly, like a very common thread of almost everybody I've had on this podcast is I've had some sort of health journey or on a journey to better their health, because they understand how much exercise and diet really affects their ability to think. It affects their clarity, and all of them want to show up to be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be, to their staff, to their team, to their clients, to their
Yeah.
to their family, to the people around them. And so that to me, eating healthy and exercising is my duty. It is my duty, because if I am not showing up with the type of energy that I need to hang out, be present here with you on a podcast, or lead a team meeting, or show up for my daughter or my wife at home, like, if I am not doing my part to make sure that I have every advantage to make that happen, then that's nobody's fault except for my own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I came to that realization at the head of my health journey, which was interesting that mine's around the same time as yours. Is during COVID, I put on the pounds, man, because I was like you. I was like,
How much are we
everything
talking
was
here?
so stressful. I put on 15 pounds during COVID, so I went from 205 to 220. I was already a little overweight, 205 for my frame. I'm 5'11", and but I got to that point where I was 220. My my brain fog was super high, like my energy was super low, and I realized I'm failing. I'm failing my family. I'm failing the businesses I serve, because I can't show up with that high energy and healthy lifestyle. And that was the point where, like, I got to do something. And I talked to my doctor. We I had super hard brain fog. I know a lot of people with COVID, after COVID, brain fog became a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and all the doctors were like, "Dude, we don't know. Like, it's just a thing with COVID, and it's long haulers, and you might never get rid of it, right?" And they would try some medicine, and they try things, and like the only thing that helped is I noticed when my diet and exercise improved, my brain fog improved. And I started saying, the heck with it. Like I'm not going to chase this medicine anymore. I'm just going to chase the diet and exercise, because it's the only thing that's helping me. And so I started with intermittent fasting, and did that for about 8 months, and I lost 20 pounds. So got back down to 200. And then I kind of plateaued for a while. I'm like, there's something else here. And all my research, everything was leading me to, more of a whole foods diet. and I ended up getting on animal-based diet, which for those that don't know is like meats, eggs, fruit, honey. Those are kind of the basic stuff, animal-based. And that's where I was able to really see some large benefits. I went from, 200 down to the 180s mark. And then I really wanted to see, like, the carnivore thing has been more of a test to see what that would do for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the carnivore, I would throw in like 30 days just to see what it was like. And I definitely felt the difference between carnivore and animal based. But so for the last year, I've basically been rotating those two. And I really like how I feel I can lift a little heavier when I'm on animal based because I've got those additional carbs. But the protein, the straight protein really leans me out. So I really like cycling those two. Um, but yeah, so and it's difficult, right? Like changing your whole life to that is difficult. I mean, I was at a birthday party last night and I really wanted a piece of cake. I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
it's my favorite cake over there. But and they're eating spaghetti and I'm eating ground beef. So, but like I can do hard things. We can all do hard things to transform ourselves and make ourselves better.
I remember I was doing a cleanse, and it was uh, over my daughter's third birthday, and it was heartbreaking because she, we had made some cupcakes. My wife and some friends had made some cupcakes, and they were um, for her birthday, and she loves cupcakes. I mean, what 3-year-old doesn't?
Right.
But she had saved one for me, and she
Oh,
wanted she wanted me to eat it so that we could eat it together later.
oh, oh man. It's breaking
And
my heart,
and
Brandon.
I'm on this cleanse, and I'm like, fuck, all right, this is a test.
Yeah,
This is a test of strength right now.
right.
And that was a very, very difficult thing. And I had to explain to her because I again, like I look at her and here's this little girl and she's got this cupcake that she saved for me. And because she knew that I didn't get one. And so she put one aside for me. And I had to try and explain to a 3-year-old why I didn't want to have a cupcake with her.
Yeah,
And that was a tough thing to do. But I didn't want to start the cleanse over. And I knew that if I did that, it was going to be another, you know, I'd have to start all over again because I wouldn't have consciously completed it. But that was definitely a challenge.
yeah,
Do you
yeah. It's
find
moments like that that are tests, right? And we decide if we're going to pass them or not.
when I started taking food, sort of diet and exercise seriously and started talking about it, I would kind of keep it to myself in the office. But as soon as I started getting louder about that, I found this rippling effect throughout
Yeah,
the office where now people start as the leader of the organization, people start understanding what it is that you value, right? And they start understanding, okay, well, if I'm implementing these things in my life, or if I'm talking about certain things, I have this feeling that maybe I'm going to uh, be judged. Like if I'm bringing in pizza for lunch, then maybe I'm gonna be judged by the guy that's bringing in chicken and salad and tomatoes.
right.
And not that there's judgment going on, but I found that those healthy habits started radiating more and more
Absolutely.
into the people that were around me and that were in my environment. And that
Right.
was and that was cool to see because it's all good for one person in an organization to come to and show up with energy and be a leader. But if you want others to also show up and be a leader, then it's super important for them to also and to their families, right? They're going to come in, they're going to work hard, they're going to go home. They want to be the best mother and the best father that they can possibly be when they get
Right.
home too.
Yeah.
But so that as a leader is also part of your responsibility, I found. And especially if you're talking about building some pretty high level leadership teams within the credit union and making sure that they're growing. growing business and growing personally, like the only way for them to grow business as well, I assume, is for them to grow personally within themselves and be able to also overcome new challenges and learn new things.
Right.
And I imagine, I don't know what's going on, but I imagine that people in your world are really starting to sort of see this new side of you evolving, and there's probably something that's triggering them, and maybe you don't even know about it yet. But I'm always surprised at just how far of a reach good habits and change can radiate into people, and probably have more and more impact than you realize.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. You're describing it. I'm like, oh yeah, this happened and this happened, this happened. And like at first, I think a lot of people are like, uh, what's going on? Like, is this just a phase or is this going to last? And once they saw, oh, this is really like a part of his life, and he really is changing for good. He's not looking back. He's not going back. It's had that ripple effect. But initially there were, and not just in my work, but in other aspects of my life, all aspects of my life, I was surprised at how many people wanted to push back against me trying to hit my goals, against me wanting to lose weight and become healthier. It was like, no, no, it's scary to them. It's scary that you're trying something new and you're trying to transform yourself. And so a lot of the comments are negative, or, I remember my mom saying that, like, she's worried about me because I've been losing so much weight. And I said, Mom, look at the pictures. So I had a side by side pictures of me, because I've tracked my progress with my shirt off. It's like, here's what I look like at 220. Here's what I look at 170. Like, which one do you think is healthier? And she was like, oh, this one's way healthier. And then my thought is like, why weren't you saying you were worried about me when I was 220? You know? And I actually asked her that question. She's like, well, you don't want to make people feel bad. But it's
That's
like,
not your responsibility. This
yeah,
is like this is the exact same thing. Like, that is not your other people's feelings, is not your responsibility, because that's what they are. Like,
mm,
they are feelings. Like,
yeah,
and you're not going out and intentionally hurting
yeah,
somebody, but growth, like, if people are witnessing change in somebody that they care about, it makes them uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, you can't dim your light. Like,
right.
similar example. My wife, I mean, she's pregnant with our second. We have a second daughter on the way right now in June, which is very, very cool, very
Awesome.
blessed. But she hasn't had alcohol for well over a year now. And
Yeah,
she had decided, you know what, I can't do the couple of glasses of wine type thing. It was like, if I want to get rid of alcohol in my life for good, or get it under control, I have to go all in. So I just said,
yeah,
like, I'm quitting drinking, and I was in huge, huge support of that. But you still get, like, her mother would come over every once in a while and bring a bottle of wine, and offer her
mm,
a glass. Oh, do you want a glass of wine?
mm.
She's like, wow,
Wow.
like, Mom, I don't drink anymore.
Right.
And she'd be like,
Wow.
oh, okay, okay. Well, if you want some, here it is. He's like, no,
Wow.
you don't understand.
Yeah.
Don't, like, you can't offer this to me because I
Right.
don't drink anymore. That's not who I am. And so putting down these, like, very firm barriers, um, it makes other people uncomfortable. But, like, those
Right.
are those are the struggles that you go through independently as you try and grow yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think what it does is, like you said, it invites them to change. It invites them to grow themselves. But if they choose not to grow, then that's what's uncomfortable to them, is that they have someone that's growing and they're choosing not to grow. But on the flip side, if they choose to grow, then everybody's benefiting, right? I mean, I have a branch manager that he came to me and he was like, hey, I've really been enjoying what I'm seeing on Instagram. I love your journey. And he's like, it's inspired me. Like, I am now doing carnivore, and he's lost a bunch of weight, not on a health journey. And Now, every time I see him, I'm like, "How you doing? How's your goals?" We're kind of rising together, and that's the ripple effect you talked about. It's so awesome.
My best friend since the fourth grade, he sent me a picture this morning. He's been doing a cleanse and jumped onto a fitness program, and he is 10 days in, and he sent me. You can probably see it here, but here's his. Here, I'll hold that up there. Here's his weight from March,
Oh,
whatever it
awesome!
is, 16th at
Wow,
203, and he's
amazing.
now what is it? He's only like 6 days in, and he's dropped 13 pounds.
That's amazing.
And a lot of that is just like booze and just crap that you
Yeah,
don't need in your body. And so he sent me that screenshot this morning, and I'm absolutely cheering him on. Like
that's
it's
so
incredible
cool.
it's really incredible to see.
Yeah, because you know what it takes, right? Like he's in the mix of it right now. Whatever program he's in, he's got to be just having incredible willpower to stick with it, and especially in that first 10 to 30 days, it just takes so much effort and so yeah, like it's nice to be able to cheer somebody on that's in the thick of it.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I find that one of the most difficult things to do is when you are going through change and when you are going through growth is have the people that are around you understand. And you mentioned something about commitment and like, oh, this is a this is a real thing, I guess, you know,
Yeah,
and where people are questioning you about whether or not you're going to be quitting Mountain Dew or quitting drinking or quitting the shitty food or going to be running the marathon or whatever it is. But I love what you did, and you called the shot. You're keeping yourself accountable by
hmm,
putting yourself out on social media and saying, "Hey, like maybe without all of you people around here, this would be more difficult for me because the people around me don't understand, but all of you that are out here and cheering me on, like I'm putting myself out there because I need your support, but I also know that if I fail, I'm going to look like an idiot, and I don't want to do that in front of a
yeah,
bunch of strangers that I don't know. So
right,
you've sort of set that goal to keep yourself accountable and have everybody else that's surrounding you hold you to that standard. But I love that
yeah.
you called that shot. Now you're working towards it.
The cool thing about, I mean, I live in a pretty small town. So it's not just the people on social media. The people on social media are the people I see in the grocery store, in the convenience store, at church, wherever I go, they're there. And so like by putting that out there, like I'm doing this no diet Mountain Dew thing and I'm telling the world, like I couldn't even fathom like picking up a Diet Mountain Dew in the convenience store because I know everybody there would be like, put that down, get rid of that. You doing no, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
So it was incredible. I did not realize that was one part of my journey. I knew I wanted to tell everybody. I did not realize how incredible it was to tell everybody about your goals. And that's one thing that I would just tell anybody that's trying to reach a goal is to tell people because that was such a powerful tool for me that I had to be accountable. I had to show up every day and say, "Hey everybody, this is how I did today. It sucked, but I'm still going to try." And there were days where I'm like, I don't think I would have made it unless cuz I knew I had to be accountable to everybody.
yeah, yeah, and a responsibility. CEO
Mhm.
of a credit union is no joke. It's no lighthearted
Right.
task to be able to show up and on it. And I feel like we didn't even really talk about all the that position banking all that much. We got much
That's
further
okay.
down a rabbit hole today of health and goals, and I absolutely love it. Um, yeah, that's amazing. Are you gonna come back and do this again or what?
Yeah, let's do it. I
Yeah,
loved it. Yeah.
awesome. Where can people find you?
Instagram's probably the best place. Facebook, at Samuel Crane, CEO, Desert Rivers Credit Union. I also, next time we talk, I'll tell you about my journey in starting another IT company. Well, after starting the credit union, and we can talk about that a little bit.
I
That
got
was,
time. I got
yeah.
time. Let's talk about that right now.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as you have time.
I've got time, man.
All
This
right.
this is
See, I
great.
love that. I love this because there's more energy to keep going, and that I think is fueled by that drive and that energy that we were talking about, the
Yeah.
food, the exercise. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
love it. You
love it.
tell me all about it.
Yeah, so partway through my journey with Desert Rivers Credit Union, we started growing, and I started realizing like I can't do it all, And one of the things that was really taking a lot of my time was the technical side of things, the computers and the server, and there's a lot of software involved with credit unions. And I had a board member at the time that he was a very technical person, and he was oh gosh, what was he doing? He was doing data centers, traveling all over the world to take care of these data centers for like Meta and Facebook and all sorts of different clients. And I grabbed him. I'm like, David, I cannot find a decent IT partner in Southeast Utah. Like they just don't happen. Like we've got to come up with a solution to bring an IT partner here to help us. Because as a credit union, you have to have a really high level of cybersecurity. And they're just we had the broke fix guys that would kind of like, oh, here you
Mhm.
go, we'll limp you along a little bit. But I'm like, we have got to raise our cybersecurity up. I've got to be able to offload all of this. And so we connected with a group called Cinch IT. We actually brought the franchise to Utah and started that franchise in the state of Utah. Because David's like, I can't do it all on my own either. He's like, I need a team of people, and so that brought a team of experts and a help desk and a framework of cybersecurity that we could bring to Utah. And so started with the credit union, but we've been able to branch out to other clients in Southeast Utah, and then branched out to St. George, and now we've got clients all over the state. We've just opened up another franchise in Logan, Utah, and Ogden, Utah. So we're spread kind of all through the state over the last 4 years, and that's been a really cool thing to see, and really bring to a lot of rural areas that don't have high enterprise IT solutions.
And it's not specifically for the banking world, or is it specifically for the banking world?
Yeah, it's really for any business. The avatar usually is someone with 10 or more computers.
Yeah.
That at that point they're looking for some help with IT, and usually they don't. It's like they can't they can't justify going out and hiring an IT person at 10 computers, but they need some help.
Hmm.
And so we're it's like kind of like a fractional. We're basically your IT department. We come in, we bring all of our specialists, our help desk, and we get everything installed on your computer so we can monitor it 24/7 and make sure everything's running properly. And then, you've got your help desk to call if things break. And it's kind of an all you can eat model, which is we love. It's like we just charge, flat per user per device. And so you can call us as much as you want. It's on us to make you work properly, work better. And that was a huge, like the credit union, we saw, I mean, probably $100,000 plus worth of benefit the first year we put them in, because my branch managers were trying to fix things. I was trying to fix things. Things were breaking all the time. We were down all the time. And just being able to be up 100% of the time and offload all of that stress from my management team, they were allowed, basically buying back their time, they were allowed to actually do the thing that I hired them to do in the first place.
Yeah, I imagine that you do need a lot of, like, there can't be any downtime if people can't access their money or their online
Right.
banking at scale.
Yeah.
That's gonna cause some real issues, and
Ripple
some people get
effects.
up in arms. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah. Like
rolling blackouts.
if
You
our
know.
debit cards aren't working, not only is that bad PR for me, but we're losing money. and that can be just 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I could lose thousands of dollars.
Yeah. No, that's nuts. Uh, Cinch IT,
Cinch IT.
Cinch
Yeah,
IT.
right. And they're originally out of near Boston, Massachusetts, out of Worcester, Massachusetts. And they have they were kind of a homegrown there, and just be able to kind of grow on the East Coast. And now they're spreading across the United States. And we're lucky enough to grow them here in Utah.
Couple more questions. Balancing running the bank and the launching of the IT company across multiple states, family, exercise. What allows you to expand at your extremities and have that kind of reach and move at the pace that you're moving? Is it all you? Is it the teams that you've surrounded yourself by? Imagine a few key people, but
Yeah.
what does that look like? What gives you the ability to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first question a lot of people ask me, when they see that I'm involved in a lot of things. Like I was the head football coach for Grand County High School for a year. So there's like I'm involved in a lot of other things, and they ask me like, well, how do you do it all? And the truth of the matter is like it's possible if you know where to lead and where to stop working. I think a lot of times when we hire people, we put them to work, and then we tend to want to do their job for them, instead of hiring them saying, this is your job, and if you're running into problems, you got to figure it out. And like I'll help you here and there, but this really is your responsibility. And really, like, it comes down to building teams that are self accountable. Like they can hold themselves accountable for hitting the goals that you give them, and I can keep my hand on the pulse of things. But um, it's very possible. Like I have a great family life, I have a great balance, and I'm constantly looking for the next thing of how do we grow the empire.
Hiring people and letting them do their job. What a weird philosophy.
Right. I'll
Yeah.
tell you another thing that like leveled me up was getting an executive assistant.
Yeah.
Like that changed my life. Her name's Janae, and like we hired her a few years back, and talk about just being able to offload your calendar, your emails, being able to have her manage that and then get back with you on the most important things. Uh, that was a game changer for me.
Heck yeah. No, I love it, man. Let's do this again. Because I think
Okay.
there's a lot more that we can dive into. I think we just scratched the surface. But it's been
Yeah.
awesome for the fact that you can carve out some time in your day with everything you got going on to sit here for over an hour and have a conversation with me. Um, absolutely love it. Again, Samuel Crane CEO on Instagram.
That's right. At Samuel Crane CEO, reach out to me. Love to chat with you.
All right. You know where to find him. For everyone else listening, thanks for hanging in there. Appreciate all your time. Appreciate you. As always, have a great day. Rock and roll. Cheers.